This is Pressers by FedNet, where news conferences from the United States Congress become podcast episodes for your listening on your time. House Republican Conference Chair Lisa McClain of Michigan began this May 14th news conference before Florida Sheriff John Rutherford, Majority Whip Tom Emmer, Majority Leader Steve Scalise, and Speaker Mike Johnson followed. Each addressed Police Week as officers gathered in Washington. Johnson took questions about budget reconciliation, President Trump's visit to the Middle East, separation of powers, and more. The following material is protected by copyright.
Good morning, everyone. How are ya? The sun is kind of starting to come out today, just a little bit, so keep your fingers crossed. But House Republicans have made significant progress on the One Big Beautiful Bill. 9 out of 11 committees have passed their pieces, and the 2 remaining committees will be done quite soon. After our committee work, after that work is done, we will move on to the next step. But before we do, I think it's important that we not forget what is at stake for the American people if this bill doesn't pass, which I'm confident it will. And what's at stake? Think about it. What's at stake for Michiganders? They would see their taxes go up an average of $2,400. Mothers and fathers who need the child tax credit could potentially lose that. Mom and pop shops could close, and even family farms would be affected and no longer cease to exist. If we don't pass this bill, there will be real consequences, and real consequences for real people. We must pass this transformational piece of legislation, and failure is not an option. Additionally, this week, House Republicans are honoring police in National Police Week. We will vote on multiple measures that support our police and law enforcement officers. Those who bravely serve our communities in uniform deserve recognition, especially those who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. Now, I'm curious to watch the Democrats and see what they do this week. See if they will actually join us in honoring the men and women in blue. The jury's still out. I mean, just look at last week when House Republicans visited small business for Small Business Week. What did the Democrats do? The Democrats visited the MS-13 members. Will they visit criminals this week instead of police officers during National Police Week? The jury's still out, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Now, because Democrats have turned their backs on law enforcement over the past 4 years, let's not forget they were the party that wanted to defund the police. And they actually called for defunding the police. They advocated for a border crisis. They passed soft on crime legislation. They have put the lives of local law enforcement officers in danger. But I can assure you those days are over. With President Trump in the White House and Republicans in control of Congress, America's law enforcement officers and their families know that Republicans will always back the blue. We have their backs, and it's only right that we have theirs. They have our back. It's only right that we have theirs. Now, here to speak on that is Representative John Rutherford from Florida. He knows a little bit about law enforcement. Rep. Rutherford is a former law enforcement officer and co-chairman of the Law Enforcement Caucus. So with that, Mr. Rutherford? Yeah.
Sheriff. Thank you, Lisa, and thank all of you for being here today. As I appreciate what the Republican caucus has done to prove to our law enforcement officers over these last several days that we do have their backs. And I can tell you, as a lifelong law enforcement officer and sheriff of Jacksonville for 12 years, I know all too well about the service and sacrifice our nation's brave law enforcement officers make every day, and the sacrifice of their loved ones. Never forget that. Anyone who's put on a badge and answered the call of duty knows the dangers that may await. They know that going in. Sadly, that is the reality officers and their families accept each time they put their lives in harm's way to protect others. Putting on a badge has become increasingly more dangerous. In 2024, 148 officers tragically lost their lives in the line of duty. 79 of those were shot in ambush-style attacks, and 18 resulted in deaths. 8 officers were killed in Florida alone, my state, the 5th highest number of officer deaths per state. We must do more to protect those who protect us. But it's also very important that when we ask them to put their lives in jeopardy to step into that breach, that they know that this Congress has their back. And they know that now. And this means ensuring that they have the resources needed to apprehend dangerous criminals, keep officers safe, and increase retention and recruitment so that these officers have the tools that they need to be safe on the street. I'm honored to stand here today to call on all Americans to back our officers. You know, these National Memorial Weeks, I'm always reminded of a talk that Ralph Waldo Emerson once said. And he said, the purpose in life is not to be happy. It's to be useful. It's to be honorable. It's to be compassionate. It's to have lived well and made some difference with your life. I can tell you all of those officers whose names are inscribed on the wall at the National Memorial, they all lived well. And I thank this conference, particularly thank the speaker for going to the memorial this morning and laying wreaths with several officers from my jurisdiction that came up and others from Minnesota. And I really appreciate you having done that. And thank you very much.
Lies, deception, fear-mongering. These are the pillars of House Democrats' strategy to try and stop us from delivering on President Trump's America First agenda. The mainstream media may let them get away with their antics, but we're here today to correct the record. So let's start with the Democrats' absurd claim that our reconciliation bill would cut Medicaid for vulnerable Americans. That's false. In stark contrast, Republicans on the Energy and Commerce Committee have laid out a clear path to strengthen, secure, and sustain the program for those who need it the most, such as mothers, children, people with disabilities, and the elderly. Democrats also say SNAP benefits will be cut for Americans who need them. Another lie. The House Agriculture Committee's piece of the reconciliation bill closes loopholes within SNAP, like the one that allowed for a retired millionaire in my congressional district in my home state of Minnesota to receive thousands of dollars in food stamps from SNAP back in 2016. But the Democrats are not content to keep their lies narrowed to these programs. They also say Republicans are prioritizing tax cuts for the wealthy. The actual truth? Our bill's extension of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act would deliver the biggest relief to working class families and small businesses in a generation. Let's be clear. These lies only harm Americans that Democrats claim they're trying to protect. But we're not going to let them get away with the lies. House Republicans are hard at work getting our reconciliation bill to the finish line. The Ways and Means Committee advanced their title earlier this morning, and the Ag and Energy and Commerce Committees will do the same later today. These three committees worked through the night to deliver on the America First agenda that 77 million Americans voted for last November. Our one big, beautiful bill will restore the American dream and create opportunities like never before. And no Democrat lie can change that. With that, Leader Scalise.
Thank you, Whip. Well, I'm proud to join my colleagues in celebrating National Law Enforcement Week, bringing a number of bills to the floor to give better protections to our men and women in law enforcement, and just continue to remind those brave heroes that we have their back. And like Sheriff Rutherford and so many others in law enforcement, they now serve in Congress. Pete Stauber, who was a cop on the beat I room with, you know the kind of heroes that they are. And we hear about heroes a lot. You sometimes hear stories about heroes in law enforcement. I get to walk with one of those heroes every day. And I'm going to embarrass him, and he's going to be upset with me, but he happens to be with me this morning, and that's David Bailey. You want to meet a real-life American hero, it's that man right there. And I wouldn't be here today, and probably about a dozen other members of Congress wouldn't be here today if not for his bravery that I got to experience firsthand. I didn't get to see it all, but I heard it all. Over 100 rounds of gunfire when a gunman came out on a ball field and tried to kill all of us. And the only reason we're alive today is because he put himself between us and the gunfire, risked his life, got hit during the shootout. And the only reason we're alive and he's not is because of the bravery of David Bailey and Crystal Griner. And while we hear about heroes every now and then, when you actually get to see one and walk around with one, and he came back to work when he got out of the hospital for his treatment, he wanted to go back to work because he loves what he does. He cares about his training. It's not talked about a lot because many men and women in law enforcement might never have to use their revolver. And hopefully they don't. And they don't want to. But they go to training every day in case they have to. So they're ready to risk their lives to protect us and our communities. And that's what David did. The reason that we're all here today, including him, is because he took his training so seriously. In the days where you could have just phoned it in, he said, you know what, if I'm ever called on to be ready, I want to be prepared to do the job. And we know there's so many brave men and women just like David, but I got to see it and experience it, and I'm here because of him. And I'm always going to pay tribute to the great heroism of what law enforcement represents. And so I hope we all remember that. It's not just a talking point. It's not just stories that we hear about. I got to experience it, and a number of my colleagues would tell you the exact same thing. We also, of course, are moving through the reconciliation bill and finishing it up this week. And this is incredibly important work. We're doing what a lot of people said couldn't be done. And we're doing it because families are relying on us to get this done. We've had many meetings with President Trump, including the last one with the Speaker and the Chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, Smith, Chairman of Energy and Commerce Committee, Guthrie, last week in the Oval Office to finalize some of the final pieces of this bill. A lot of work has gone into getting 11 committees ready to complete all of their work today, by the end of today. Think about that. 11 committees. When we did this in 2017, which was an important bill, Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, to get economic growth, to get our economy moving again, to create jobs, to put more money in the paychecks of workers. There were only 2 committees involved in that back in 2017. There's 11 involved this time, and each one of them has hit their mark, and by the end of today, all of them will have exceeded the things that they were asked by us to do, and they will be delivering a great product for all members of Congress to vote on. Now, we all know not all members of Congress will vote for that bill, but everybody who casts a no vote is going to have some tough questions to answer back home. Why would you vote against tax relief for working families? You can lie all day long, as the whip pointed out, about the rich and the billionaires. The rich and the billionaires are always going to figure out how to get through whatever the tax code looks like. You know who can't figure out every single component of it, especially if a tax goes up on you? It's the lower and middle income families of America who have been struggling. We were losing our middle class before 2017 when we finally lowered rates for those hardworking families. And we saw the benefits primarily to lower and middle income families. And they would be the ones hit the hardest if this bill were not to pass. Luckily, we're going to come together and figure it out as we have every step of the way to get this done for the American people, because failure is not an option. We will get our economy moving again. We will give President Trump the resources he needs to keep our border secure now that he has secured it. He needs additional tools for our Border Patrol agents. We're going to make America energy independent again. It's in this bill. We're going to remove the threat of a debt crisis in this bill. So many other important things. We're getting people back to work in this bill. It's an important piece of legislation, but I want to commend all the committees, all 11 committees, who have worked hours and hours tirelessly to get their work done, starting with the leadership of President Trump, making sure that every step of the way, when there were questions, when there were final decisions that had to be made, he was always one phone call away, and he'll continue to be. This process isn't over. We're, just getting to close to maybe halftime. When we pass this bill next week through the House, it'll go to the Senate. They'll do their work. But we will get this bill to President Trump's desk before the July 4th deadline that the White House has asked for. And the reason that we've been able to hit all of these marks is because in every meeting, and I've been in all these meetings, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, has been about as patient of a man as I've seen, listening to our members. And believe me, you know this, we have members that have a lot of different points of view, have a lot of different views on how the bill should be put together, and they're not ashamed to express those views. But at the end of the day, we've all got to come together. And he has brought our members together on every tough issue. And there are a lot of tough issues. Might be one remaining to solve, but we've gotten through every one of them because he's had the patience of Job and continues to lead us the right direction for those families who are counting on us, and that's the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
Well, thank you all for being here. There's a lot going on, and a lot we will update you on and have been this morning already. We're grateful for the opportunity to do that. We're really grateful that it's National Police Week. Republicans look forward to this. We really, truly do. And we've been welcoming families of fallen officers and law enforcement officers from around the country all week. We had a candlelight vigil last night. There were a couple of those events last night we participated in. And you can't give honor where honor is due enough, especially around this subject. And people put their lives on the line every single day. The numbers are staggering. After the candlelight vigil last night, we went, as Sheriff Rutherford mentioned, Representative Rutherford mentioned, we went to the National Law Enforcement Memorial this morning, and it was misty, and the weather was sort of appropriate because it's when you walk that place and you see the names of more than 24,000 officers whose names are etched into the stone there, it really moves you. And we lost 345 fallen heroes this year alone. They'll be etched into the memorial. So there were many officers out there and just paying their respects, and we placed wreaths as some small token. But look, I come from a first responder family, and I know that sacrifice. I grew up at the Fire and Police Training Academy in my hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana, because my dad was a training officer. He was on the fire side of it, and he also worked the line. And when I was 12 years old, he got burned in an explosion on the job. 80% of his body, third-degree burns. He had a 5% chance to live, 5%. He came back miraculously and survived, but he was terribly disabled for the rest of his life, and his co-captain died in that fire. They were on the hazmat team, and I watched the sorrow that his family, his young family, went through, the children he left behind, his spouse, his wife, and I learned at a young age the profound sacrifice that people make, and we have to keep that in perspective. We have to stand behind those who are willing to do that for all the rest of us. And the House Republicans will stand with law enforcement. We definitely do have their back in every way, and we're glad to show it. So thank you for your service. Thank you for your service, David, everybody who does that. My Capitol Police team, my security team, I spend more time with them than I spend with my family and friends and everybody, and they become like family to us, and they do a heroic job. So we're so grateful. Can't say it enough. They deserve our gratitude, and they deserve our respect, and I wish all of our House Democrats agreed with that. They show with their actions that they don't, and we got to talk about what happened in New Jersey. On Friday, as you all know, 3 Democrat members of Congress got into a physical altercation with our ICE agents. I mean, outside the Delaney Hall Detention Center in New Jersey, what a spectacle that was! What a horrible display for our children to see, right? Amid a long list of shameful and embarrassing episodes this year, that altercation, I think it takes the cake. I think it's a new low for congressional Democrats. Instead of condemning the action, of course, the Democrat leadership in the House sent out a statement of support. My friend Hakeem Jeffries said, quote, "We will never bend the knee." To bend the knee to what, Hakeem? To ICE? Come on. The reason the Democrats were even at the detention facility is equally concerning. The purpose was they were there demanding to shut down the detention facility. Now look, here's who's housed in the detention facility. Violent gang members, rapists, and murderers. They want to shut it down. We already know the Democrats support open borders. They support MS-13 gang members. They go visit them in jail. They want to allow illegals to vote, so many of them. But this really is a new low. Republicans want to detain and deport criminal illegal aliens. Democrats want to empty the jails. Could you have a stronger contrast than that right there? We don't need less detention beds and facilities. We need much more. And that behavior is just unacceptable. We're grateful to U.S. Attorney Alina Habba in New Jersey. She's opened an investigation into this matter, and that legal process will play out. We're having conversations. We had them this morning in the House Republican Conference meeting this morning about appropriate action that we need to take here to address that inappropriate behavior, the wildly inappropriate behavior, and we will do that. Let me just talk about reconciliation real quick. Look, this is the bill's coming together, as you've heard. The last three committees are reporting out today. Everybody in this room, I know, gets fixated on a few final details about all this, but I think it's important to just state one more time what we're achieving through reconciliation. This will be one of the most consequential pieces of legislation ever passed by the United States Congress. It is large, it is comprehensive, and it deals with reconciling the budget in a way that will be fiscally responsible. We're going to slash taxes, including on tips, overtime, Social Security for seniors and job creators, restore American energy dominance, as you've heard, secure our border, and deport illegal aliens. We're going to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse, return to peace through strength, and reduce spending all at the same time. And I put reconciliation on an aggressive timetable back in January. I said that we would try to do this as quickly as possible. We're still on target to hit that Memorial Day deadline, which people balked at when we first said it. The American people are counting on us to get this done and get it done quickly, and we are on target to do it. President Biden left virtually every area of public policy in disrepair, and it is incumbent upon Congress to fix it and pass laws that cannot be easily undone or overwritten. We're working around the clock to build that consensus to get the 218 votes and deliver on President Trump's America First agenda so the American people can really begin to feel relief. And as we're working to get this done, House Democrats are working overtime to deceive the American people about this. We've discussed it already this morning, but they're not talking about what the bill actually does. They're using talking points that are pretty stale. They're not afraid to lie about what's in it, and we're not afraid to tell the truth about what the Democrats are doing. They've already been forced to take down their advertisements because they were filled with falsehoods about what the bill supposedly was going to have in it. You probably saw last week, they're at it again. They released a CBO report, so-called, that claims that our legislation cuts many millions of Americans out of Medicaid. It's obviously demonstrably false. Other outlets have reported on this, okay? They included policies that are not even in the legislation. How could they have done that? Because they released the report before the bill text was issued, okay? And most of the media ran with that, okay? And I'm just going to say this to my friends in the media, on the Hill Press Corps in particular, right? If you allow Democrats to make these intentionally false claims without pushback, then you're aiding and abetting in the spread of misinformation. I mean, I'm stating the obvious. The job is to get the facts out there, so we hope you will. We said repeatedly we are protecting Medicaid for the people who need and deserve it. This program is an essential lifeline for our most vulnerable Americans, pregnant women, single mothers, low-income seniors, the disabled. That's who Medicaid is intended to be for, and that's who we're protecting, while we're eliminating fraud, waste, and abuse to improve Medicaid. These are reforms to restore and preserve the system so that it doesn't collapse on itself. That means ensuring illegal aliens don't get coverage meant for Americans in need. It means implementing work requirements to ensure that adults who can work but refuse to cannot keep cheating the system. We're going to continue to call this out, and we're going to put the facts out there, and the people are going to be able to judge it for themselves. With that, I'll take a few questions. Front row.
If the president were to accept a airplane from the Qatari government, should Congress have approval over that kind of gift?
Look, I've been a little busy on reconciliation, so I'm not following all the twists and turns of the Qatar jet. I've certainly heard about it. My understanding is it's not a personal gift to the president. It's a gift to the United States, and other nations give us gifts all the time. But I'm going to leave it to the administration. They know much more about the details of that, okay? It's not my lane. Yes, sir.
Mr. Speaker, you were very critical of President Biden and his family's foreign business dealings. You supported an impeachment inquiry as a result of it. Are you equally concerned about President Trump's family's business dealings, especially given the fact that he is in a region now where his family has billions of dollars of investments in Doha and Saudi Arabia, and the fact that he has a crypto business now where he's auctioned off access to the White House for the highest bidder in his meme coin?
Look, there are authorities that police executive branch ethics rules. I'm not an expert in that. My expertise is here in the House. Okay, I'll say that the reason many people refer to the Bidens as the Biden crime family is because they were doing all this stuff behind curtains, but in the back rooms. They were trying to conceal it, and they repeatedly lied about it, and they set up shell companies, and the family was all engaged in getting all on the dole. Whatever the President Trump is doing is out in the open. They're not trying to conceal anything.
But Mr. Speaker, the investment in the meme coin, those folks are not transparent. We do not know who those people are.
I don't know anything about the meme coin thing. I don't know. I can just tell you that, I mean, President Trump has had nothing to hide. He's very upfront about it, and there are people who watch all the ethics of that. But I mean, I've got to be concerned with running the House of Representatives.
Is it
and that's
congressional oversight, though? That's the congressional responsibility, isn't it?
Congress has oversight responsibility, but I think, so far as I know, the ethics are all being followed. So, yes, sir.
Mr. Speaker, can you flesh out the possible discipline that these members, the Democrats, could face for what happened in New Jersey?
Well, look, there's three possible disciplinary actions that the House can take. Okay, you can censure a member, and that probably does seem appropriate here. You can kick them off committees. That's a new tradition begun by the Democrats in recent years. And you can expel someone from Congress. Now, expulsion requires a 2/3 vote. That's not likely because the margins are small on both sides. But we're looking at what is appropriate. Look, I think it's pretty clear that the law was violated. You might have noticed the Wisconsin judge that was trying to conceal the illegal alien that was going to be apprehended by ICE. A federal grand jury indicted the judge. I think that was late yesterday. And I'm told that she'll be brought up on charge, maybe facing potentially 6 years in jail and $350,000 in fines because she obstructed the proceedings, obstructed justice, and was engaged in other activities. So look, what these House Democrats did is in that same lane, the same vein of what the judge is being indicted for. So I think there's some legal ramifications to play out here, and we'll see how it
Does that mean expulsion on the table?
We're talking through all the possibilities. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So a group of your colleagues are having bipartisan talks about a potential congressional stock ban. I wanted to see where you are on that. If that's going to move ahead. I know that they're working to get something that's going to have broad consensus.
Yeah, you want me to tell you my honest opinion on it? I mean, I'm in favor of that because I don't think we should have any appearance of impropriety here. Okay, but the other side of it, some people say, well, look, the salary of Congress has been frozen since 2009. When you adjust for inflation, a member of Congress today is making 31% less than they made in that year. It goes down every year. And over time, if you stay on this trajectory, you're going to have less qualified people who are willing to make the extreme sacrifice to run for Congress. I mean, it's just people just make a reasonable decision as a family on whether or not they can come and move to Washington, have a residence here, a residence at home, and do all the things that are required. So the counter-argument is, and I have some sympathy, look, at least let them engage in some stock trading so that they can continue to take care of their family. But on balance, my view is we probably should do that because I think it's been abused in the past, and I think, sadly, a few bad actors discolor it for everyone. And look, we have no tolerance for anything even resembling insider trading or any of this kind of advantage that anybody could take. Zero tolerance for it, and we'll stamp it out ourselves. So that's why I'm in favor of the policy, but I understand people that have misgivings about that, so we'll see where it lands. Yes, sir.
What's the latest on salt? Do you have a new number that would break the deadlock?
I'm not telling you that here this morning. No, let me say this on salt. Look, we have people of very deep. Everybody's in good faith. We're working through it. We worked through it. I mean, I was working on it up to about 1:30 last night. Okay, we're getting closer, but there are basically two different factors. There's red states and blue state folks, right? We got more red state folks in our conference, and they have concerns about it. But we have blue state people who have realities they've got to deal with at home, and they need some relief for their constituents. So I am trying to be the neutral umpire in the negotiation and build consensus, so I won't come out here and handicap it and tell you numbers and all that. But I will tell you, I'm absolutely confident we're going to be able to work out a compromise that everybody can live with. Look, when you have a bill this big, with this many pieces and this many components and this complex and comprehensive, virtually no one's going to be 100% satisfied with every piece of the bill. It's just not possible. Everybody's having to give a little, and they're willing to do that because they know the stakes are so high, as my leaders here have articulated. So we'll get there. We're going to get this done, deliver it for the American people, and I remain as confident today as I was when we started this process. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Cut Medicaid.
We're not cutting Medicaid. Stop buying that.
Thanks for listening. Subscribe and tell your friends about us. This program is copyrighted by Federal Network, Incorporated, and provided only for informational and educational purposes. Unauthorized reproduction, distribution, or use of this episode without expressed written permission from FedNet is prohibited.